My name is Domincello, and I'm proud to introduce the first season, first episode of the Heard Records Show. Now, in this first season, we're going to be covering mixtapes and their role within the hip-hop culture. Now, because there's so many different facets of mixtapes, from where do you find them to DJ blends, mashups, artist-inspired tapes, we felt it would only be appropriate to devote the first episode to the history of mixtapes. So without further ado, mixtape history.
When you hear something, make sure you hear it right.
All right, so welcome to the Heard Records Show. As always, I'm your host, Prezzy. This motherfucker over here, not Prezzy, the other guy. You know who that is? It's Domincello.
What's going on, Prezzy? How you doing?
Respect on that name. All right?
All right, take it easy.
Yo, what's going on? Welcome to the Heard Records Show. Prezzy Domincello, as always. My brother, what's going on? How's everything, man?
Life is good, man. You know, everything's good. We got a interesting podcast today. I like going into history of things, and we're gonna dive deep into some mixtape history here. But yeah, other than that, everything's good, man. How about you?
Things are, you know, what are they? It's just like anything else, you know.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's good, you know. And then there's stuff that's maybe not the best, you know. But it's like you need that shit, right, in order to appreciate the good stuff. So shout out to stuff that sucks, because without you, how would I know, you know, what doesn't suck, right?
Sounds silly, but it's actually like that's all truth, you know.
Yo, man, I you know, for people who may not know or whatever, I was in a pretty horrific car accident a couple of years ago, and I still go to physical therapy, you know, to this day. And a lot of that is like, I would say part ego, where it's like, you know, I'm not in like any kind of danger if I don't go to therapy, but I was in good shape my whole life, and I'd like to fucking go back to that, you know. And so when I go to therapy, you know, at this point, you know, I've been going for some time, so I'm friends with everyone there, the receptionist, the fucking therapist, whatever. And the main receptionist, we have like a running joke. When I walk in, she'll say a number based on what she thinks I look like, right?
Okay.
But the joke is, it's not like saying like, oh, you're a 10. Like, it's more like, what kind of day are you having? Like between like a 1 and a 10, right?
All right.
And there was one particular day I came in, and I guess I had a better disposition than usual. I must have had sex like right before therapy or something. That's the only way I ever look remotely happy. But fucking, anyways, when I came, she says, "Oh, someone's having a 10 of a day today." I said, "Well, no." I said, "I'm not having no 10 of a day. If I was having a 10 of a day, I'd be back in bed already." Because the way I see it is, if too many things go right, I start getting fucking, like, literally nervous. Like, I start being like, you know, where's the other fuck? Like the Wile E. Coyote with the anvil and shit. Like, I start, like, looking for that motherfucker. Like, what do you mean? You know, it's 11 o'clock. Like, someone called me and told me they have money they owed me. And, like, I fucking, you know, you get something in the mail, you know, whatever the case. Like 4 or 5 things in a row go your way before lunch. And it's like, bro, my whole life I know how this goes. This day don't continue this way, bro. I'm going home at 1 o'clock and going to bed, so this way I can keep this day as pristine as it's been.
Pull a George Costanza on the day.
For real. For
Right?
real.
That's it. I'm out
So-
of here.
It's a real fucking thing, man. I don't like a day. I don't even like it. To me, the best days are like between a 6.5 and like an 8.
Okay.
You know, because like you're over 500, so you're not backwards. Like you're not hustling backwards, right?
Yeah.
And you didn't make it's not such a great day that like you have to literally just assume tomorrow's gonna suck because you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, like a 10 is almost like suspect.
10 is a
you know what I
horrible
mean?
thing to have
I
as
know.
a day. It's a fucking
it's
horrible
almost
feeling.
Too much. It feels like it'd be stressful, you know?
You just know, like, like you're waking up tomorrow to like, you know, a fucking tree landed on your car or like, you know, just some,
Yeah, right.
You just know, like, you're like, dude, days like this don't exist. So fuck it, you know. But anyway, I digress. Today's episode is a very special episode. I kind of am looking at what we're going to talk about today is kind of almost like a mission statement in a lot of ways from my side as far
Okay.
as what I personally want people to get from this season of the Heard Record Show. And I want to be totally transparent, you know, in that from its inception, the Heard Record Show was built as a real-time exercise between you and I, as far as you had been away for a little bit, you had stuff going on, you know, and when we reconnected on music, it was kind of like I was catching you up on a lot of records that you had missed.
Yeah,
you know,
I missed
and it was-
like a good 7 or 8 years, basically.
which, you know, especially in hip hop culture itself, and then just the digital era that 7 or 8 years kind of like happened in the onset of.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fucking stuff, you know, and you know, so we would have conversations privately about. I'd be like, yo, check this album out, you know, whatever. And we'd have cool convos. And so kind of that was where initially the whole Heard Records show came from, was that it was like, you know, I know there's plenty of people that I interact with who are like, you know, there's no good rap anymore. And it's good, you know, because if you put on Hot 97 or whatever, you know, radio station is in your area, you would be led to believe there is no good rap. It is largely just buckets of shit that they put on the radio. And we could get into conversations about why that is, the predatory practices of record labels, you know, the only people that are willing to sign some of these fucking deals, you know, are 16-year-old kids from shit neighborhoods that don't got a lawyer to tell them, you know, you're signing your life over. And so that's what's promoted. And that's a whole conversation for another time. But when we were talking, there I remember it was the Action Bronson Alchemist Rare Chandeliers project.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I remember that.
And I'd asked, I was like, yo, play that, you know, I think that's got a lot of stuff that, you know, is value, talk about, whatever. And I remember saying to you, what's crazy is that it's actually not even an album, it's a mixtape. And you were like, what? And I was like, yeah. And it like through that convo, I remember being like, wow, Dom really, like, I don't think Dom really has a full understanding of the role that the mixtape has played throughout the years in hip hop, and specifically for certain artists. And I also kind of it's been something that's gnawed at me in public with other people for a while, is that at some point, like in that digital era, you know, check out my mixtape became like a joke. You know, like a mockery or a dismissive thing. And I don't really care about like people's opinions, you know, that aren't involved in what we're involved with. But I do want to set the record straight for people who maybe they don't get, you know, what a mixtape means and what it can do, and the various subgenres of mixtapes that exist. And
Well, you know
all
what's
these things.
wild? I haven't even, like, until I had spent more time reading up and kind of digging into what was going on the last couple of years. I was listening to mixtapes when I was younger, but I had no idea what the role they had played throughout the history of everything, because the last 10 years, what they contributed to to hip hop was kind of defined by all that time, and there was like no way to have a perspective of it earlier. A lot of people, I think, had gotten disconnected with, hip hop in general when, label shit kept getting more and more like, vanilla and, putting its intention into everything. But at that point, a lot of the, me myself, I didn't know where to continue to follow mixtapes and releases with it, because I just wasn't up to it, and I never was in front of it. So it's very interesting how big of a role it's played from almost every part, from what I can see. It's like absolutely the lifeline of where the music kind of stems from, and even a lot of popularity comes out of that,
Well, I think you said the most accurate phrasing is that it's a lifeline, and it really, the origin of the mixtape in general, what you would call the mixtape, very much coincides with the rise of hip hop culture. I mean, it's like they fucking go hand in hand. So I want to kind of quickly outline a couple little things about mixtapes and what they are and what they're not, and we'll take it from there. So of course, I really hope that the kind of people that are listening to this are not thinking mixtapes like you mean the one I made for my girlfriend in middle school with all of my favorite songs on a Memorex. That's fucking not what I'm talking about. That's not what Dom's talking about. If you think that's what this is talking about, just hit stop and go do something else. Fucking nerd. Anyway, but some things that a mixtape can be, you have mixtapes that are primarily like what is sometimes called a street album, right? So it's like a fucking full on original production from end to end by one artist, but it's put out, they put it out, not the record company, right? And so it's not available in stores. It's not commercially released. It's you have to kind of seek it out, right? And certain websites that host these kind of things, and years ago, and this is why I've had such a fondness for mixtapes myself, is that back in the day you had to know even where to get a mixtape from. Like in my little neighborhood, of Deer Park, New York, I mean, there was a certain status attached to having the newest shit always before everyone else. So all the wannabes, quote unquote, they would have the album when it came out, but people that were really plugged in, who've been picking up the last 7 DJ Clue tapes, or the last fucking doo-wop and Tony Touch and this and that, we heard half these albums before they were out. I mean, one of my favorite stories is Nas in 1998. So this was going into his third album. He had Illmatic. Okay. Right? Illmatic was 94. It Was Written was 96. Okay? 98. Again, I got to give context. You had, in 96 and 97 consecutively, you had Tupac and Biggie put out double albums. Right? Wu-Tang also, 97, double album. If you were of a certain caliber artist, that was the if your fan base would sustain you for a double album, that was a mark of you're in that echelon, okay?
Major flex. Yeah.
And so the word got out that Nas had a double album coming. And I'll never forget this, because there were fistfights over this shit. I'm talking fucking fistfights. I had a friend who worked at like one of those mom and pop records stores. Okay, and
Okay, like a Looney Tunes in Long Island.
Yes, yeah, similar to that. I can't think of what the name of it was, but it was on Bayshore Road in Deer Park, and it was like there's like a card store there now, a bakery and shit. But it was there for maybe 3 or 4 years, and they were the best because you could go in and they would show you their catalog of like where they ordered from, so you could order shit that they didn't have. You know, and this for someone like me who was like, I was into out of print stuff and shit at the time. I love this place, and so I was such good friends with the owners because I was in there religiously. I mean, if there's 5 school days, you know, in a week, three to 4, I was in that fucking place.
Oh wow,
yeah, and so he always had mixtapes, and it would be like they would be on the counter, like a rack of like just different fucking cassettes by different DJs. Tony Touch, S&S, Doo-Wop, Clue, blah, 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 blah. And I remember one particular day coming in, he goes, oh, I got something for you. And he goes behind the counter and he pulls out a fucking, you know, like a Memorex fucking blank tape. And he goes, yo, Nas double album, enjoy. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, I knew that it was a thing that was coming, but like, I had no, you know, whatever. So I'm like, I don't even believe you, you know, like I'm leaving right now. Like I'm taking this home and going fucking, I gotta go hear this right now, right? So I go and I start playing it, and it's just fucking brilliant. I mean, it's like, it's, you know, Nas, and it was like choppy. There was stuff that was missing. Like it wasn't perfect. You could tell like, it hadn't been mastered, but this was a Nas double album, okay, and like this was having gold at this point in high school.
So let me ask you. So, because part of the whole mixtape scene was like who was actually distributing these mixtapes too, right? Like, so how do you think those ended up in your shop? Like the owner had relationships with some of the guys like actually making them, or they kind of get them like third generation down and the quality's kind of shitty, or.
Well, this is where it's so interesting, and this is going to be for anyone listening to this, it's going to be a very sprawling and all-over conversation because we're talking about, you know, we're not talking about one project, right? So there's a lot of little anecdotes that kind of, and to answer your question, that always is kind of what kept the mixtape game alive, was that question. Because, for example, the Nas one, when it leaked, that it was not supposed to come out. That was a leak, okay? And the label was fucking livid. Nas was not happy. They scrapped the entire double album. They added a bunch of other songs, and then if you like now the way his discography is that I think 98 he came out with Nostradamus, 99 was I Am. Okay. And like each of those had some of the songs from the double album.
Oh, okay.
Right? But like added with other songs. So like that double album never fucking came out.
Yeah. Right? Other than that, like those types of versions that were out on the street.
But now the label was so fucking like aggressively pissed that this happened that they went to every lengths to get this thing scrapped and fucking take it. I mean, like, I remember by the time I graduated high school, so this is just 2 years, right? At 10th grade, I had this early release exclusive fucking, you know, bootleg. 2 years later, I remember having fistfights over people saying that I was lying, that album never existed. And,
oh, wow.
You know, because they're like, well, where is it? You know, You said you had a Nas double album. He never came out with a double album. And it's like, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're just looking at what's on the...
Like, what the fuck, right? Yeah. But what was even crazier, like a year ago, I'm on fucking Twitter, and someone goes, this is the original track list from the Nas double album that was supposed to come out. And someone had, I guess, unearthed the original thing, and fucking, you know, it's since been confirmed that I was not lying in high school. Fucking this thing, and the track list is if they would have came out with that album, it would have been Nas's best album by far at that time.
Wow, really?
It was a fucking phenomenal, you know, thing. But it was crazy because the mixtapes at the time was so thirsty for Nas that, like, you would have if you ever listen. Some of these DJs have podcasts and they'll tell stories and shit. And like, DJs were fucking vicious back then, man. Like, they would steal, you know, the reels, the fucking 8-track reels, the fucking DATs.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, if you let a DJ in your studio, he was fucking taking something.
That's wild. Yeah, I mean, they can make a lot of money selling that shit.
And get
on the
their
artist.
name out. I mean, I got the new Nas record, you know. I got the new Jay-Z record, you know. No one else does. And then you had... So, like, the DJ-centric mixtape was kind of like the first...
Well, that's like what started it, right? So you had, like, DJs back in probably even early 80s, right? 80s. That were handing out cassettes of their sets, right, in the street and shit. And then it kind of like evolved out of that mentality and so forth.
Yeah, like you gotta look at it this way, right? Hip hop itself was the DJ was the star of the show for the longest. Mm-hmm. The rapper served primarily to hype the crowd up about the DJ. You know, because the DJ's the one who was rocking the party.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's the one
they had the
all,
name there, they had the draw and everything.
And, well, then they had the fucking speakers and the goddamn records. So,
yeah,
I mean...
Yeah, that's for sure.
Right? So, rapper, like, wrap this fucking mic cord around your neck. You know what I'm saying? But what would happen was, realistically, let's say it's a 4-hour party, and this DJ's, you know, going from one record to the other, you know, at a certain point, the guy's like fucking, maybe wants to fucking take a piss or, you know, just not be fucking 1,000 miles an hour, you know? Yeah. And so they would loop like a break of the record and let, you know, Joey from up the block or whoever get on the mic and say a couple things to kind of like hype the party up and kind of big up the DJ. Yeah, yes, y'all. My man on the 1 and 2's here. Keep your hands in the air, right? And that's how rap started. So, like, it only made sense that when you had these DJs who were throwing these legendary parties that I mean, you can look up, there's like dates, like exact dates and blocks of parties that happened. Because that are like known still because of like the DJ rocked the fuck out of this block party.
Wow.
Like, yeah.
Wild, man.
And so like a lot of times there was value for them to have these sets because there's no internet, right? And people are going like, man, that fucking party and, you know, on Cedric Ave was fucking lit, you know, whatever the word was, you know, and it was like, my man's got a copy of fucking Bambaata's set from that night, you know, and it was like those things, they had value because if you weren't, either you were there and you would want to, you know, hear that again, you know, or you weren't there and it was like,
you want to hear it.
I've been hearing about this guy, DJ so-and-so, Cool Herc. I've been hearing about Bambaataa, you know, like I want to hear it. So it was a way for these guys to get not only money off the tape itself, but also to get themselves booked and spread into different areas, you know, because now like, so from jump, it was a promotional tool. It was never considered like, you know, the same thing as an album. Like there was never this thing that has happened over years where sometimes it's indistinguishable between the two. That was not the case at first. It was typically you would have scratching, blending, you know, acapellas from one song over the instrumental from another, you know, all these cool techniques that the DJ had the ability to you know, display. Yeah. And the rapper, you know, they were on the tape, but it wasn't about them.
So when did it start really coming out with, when did rappers really start kind of dominating the mixtape scene? It must have been, what, early 90s? Mid 90s?
Yeah, so basically, like, I want to say, I know I'm very fortunate because a lot of stuff happened like when I was a kid, like it was like happening then, you know, like I got to live through a lot of golden ages and shit. And so I tend to like be careful with saying it started when I was a kid
Yeah.
You know, like, you don't want to be that guy that, like, no, and if I wasn't there, it didn't fucking happen, you know?
Yeah,
like, these
yeah.
kids who think Jay-Z invented rap now and shit. And you're like, what? Yeah, it's like fucking... So I don't want to, you know, I want to watch what I say. But I'll say this. The relationship between the DJ and getting a rapper on his mixtape became very important in the mid-90s.
Okay.
It was not very important up until then. It was more a party tool, promotional tool. It was not so much about a rapper. But, you know, when you had, like... So I'll give you an example, right? One of my favorites that I always go back to, and I was not a fan of the guy, and I still find the way he used to talk on his tapes very fucking annoying. DJ Clue.
Okay.
But I was very much begrudgingly a fan of his because, however, by hook or by crook, that motherfucker would put out a mixtape, you know, every whatever, and it would be just
ridiculous,
just loaded with fucking exclusives, freestyles. It was like, you know, and like Clue was, at least from my visibility, like from what I saw, was the first to like really make it that like a Clue tape like had more exclusives and freestyles from rappers than any DJing at all. Like Clue, I can't think of Clue blending one fucking record ever. Maybe he did.
Yeah, everything I was reading was saying like Clue basically helped like build the prototype for tapes, you know. Definitely had a lot of influence in the beginning.
His, you know, because like, so at the same time as Clue kind of was like, you know who Clue was? Clue was the prototype for DJ Khaled. That's who fucking DJ Clue was.
Oh, okay. That's an interesting way to look at it.
Because Clue eventually put a couple of real albums out too. That, I mean, if you look at the way the features are put together, and I mean, it's an early DJ Khaled album. It's exactly what it is. But you know, like there was at the time, Clue was the big name, right? That everyone knew. I happened to be a fan of Tony Touch.
Okay.
Like, he was my favorite because Tony Touch, he was more like, Clue was a little more mainstream. Like, he would have the new Mace record. He would have the new Foxy Brown record. He would have the new Puff record, right? And of course there's value in having that, right? But like, I've always been the lineage of like, I love the rap. Like, I like fucking vicious fucking bars, right? And Tony Touch had a series that was insane. It was called Power Cypher 50.
Okay.
And this motherfucker would have, the whole tape would be, it was 50 artists, 50 rappers, a freestyle each.
Wow. So 50 tracks on it?
50 tracks.
That's sick.
And,
I gotta check those out.
And you would read like the track list. It would be like Big L, you know, fucking, like, I mean, anyone that Big Pun, Big L, Big fucking, you know, Jadakiss, and like one after another.
Names,
and this, and none of this shit ever came out on a fucking album that anyone ever bought in a store. So like, you would have these, you know, as a fan, and it's like, you play this like for your boys, and they're like, bro, where the fuck did you get this? And you're like, you're like, you know, it was one of those deals, right?
I know what you're saying.
And so at the time, like, it had this rapper becoming more of the feature, but it was still very much a DJ's game. You had DJ K Slay, who came up in notoriety around this time, because he was like, K Slay was really kind of like a respected figure in the streets. And so he kind of he had the whole DJ K Slay, the Drama King, aka Slap Your Favorite DJ. Because he was really like a street dude that he on the strength of that would get freestyles and exclusives that other people wouldn't get because fucking they didn't, you wanted to be cool with Slay. You wanted Slay. K Slay had the jail fucking, check-ins and shit during his show and, C-74 lock-in, and like it, so like that to me was like kind of my favorite era because you had the personality of the DJ was a factor in how the tape came off and how they'd sequence it and the kind of songs, but at the same time you'd still get like freestyles and exclusives, and it's so I like that. And a lot of times like up and coming people like that the first time I heard them was like at the end of a K Slay tape, like,
oh wow,
it would be like 20 tracks of maybe 1 through 18, all those people, but then like 19 and 20 was like 2 Graph tracks. I'm saying him specifically. That's how I found out about Graph, was off the end of a mixtape, and it was like
all the way back then.
Guy?
How long ago was that?
2002.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, man. I mean, fucking everything that I was reading, because I was digging into this a little deeper to try to get some context, and I had no idea just how much even regular mainstream rappers had basically leveraged this, mixtapes in general and that scene to get foundation for their fan base. Like, everybody from Lil Wayne to 50 Cent, which I had no idea had all those mixtapes out. I was reading something that he had like 20 projects out before his first album, or like 12, like a lot. And then those were also reasons that when those first albums came out, they fucking sold 500 million copies or 500,000 copies in a day or two or something, But it was like in so many instances, I'd never realized how much of a role that it played in even like I was saying with these big labels, like a lot of these guys had started off in that, and it seems to be basically like if you want to be in the scene, you have to be putting shit out there, and fucking like that is where it starts,
It's funny you mentioned 50, and I think 50 Cent occupies a very peculiar place in hip hop history because his impact was complete. You can't. I mean, it's undeniable the impact the guy had.
Yeah, it was definitely an impact.
But a lot of things changed as a result of him. Like, not for the better.
Okay.
A lot of it has since changed. And gone and evolved past. Whatever issues. But like, all right. So 50's story, right? In '99. 50 was signed to Columbia Records, and he had put out that song "How to Rob."
Okay.
Right, and he talked about robbing all these famous rappers, and I rob pun without a gun, snatch a piece and run. This nigga weigh 400 pounds. How you gonna catch me, son? Right, and it was all these, and it got a lot of notoriety. But the problem was 50 was real involved in the streets at the time.
Yeah.
And so even though this record was bubbling and it was on the radio and people loved him, like they were like, this dude, and he was
got shot. Everybody's talking about it.
He was on I think it was on a J-Lo remix at the time, and he got shot, and Columbia dropped him, and they put Nas on the J-Lo remix instead of 50, and 50 was, more or less assumed to be just kind of like left for dead. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's typically how rap careers are. Like these major labels, if they feel that you're a fucking threat to their physical safety, like they're not fucking signing you. It's not.
Yeah.
Imagine you're some fucking old white dude at Columbia Records, and hey, did that guy 50 Cent come to the studio session tonight? No, he got shot 9 times.
Yeah.
Excuse me? Do me a favor, don't have him come here anymore, please. I don't want
we don't
that,
want any of that. Yeah.
It's fucking, so 50, he at the time he's off the radar and like totally blackballed. I mean, because on top of that, there's all that Ja Rule shit with fucking the Supreme Team, and there was a lot of street politics and label politics. That like even though 50 was a promising artist just a year ago, it was like he kind of even knew like from where he was positioned at that point, like there's no way in through traditional means. I can't go here, I can't go there, right?
Okay.
So 50, I would give credit for fully transitioning the mixtape from a DJ hosted affair to what we now know as an artist based.
Oh wow, really?
thing.
So you'd say that was that was ushered in from him, huh?
He put out a series of mixtapes that were, he would basically take whatever the top 20 rap songs were at the time and just do a whole different song over them. You know,
Hell yeah, that's what I was reading.
Not like, he wouldn't just flip like copy their shit. He'd just do a whole fucking song.
No, he'd like make it his own, right? Like to the point where people, I was reading that they were like scared of making hits because he would fucking. Oh, the same thing with Wayne too. That Wayne would take your fucking hit and fucking flip it, and make it something.
I was
even hotter.
DJing when 50 was on the come up, and I can say with absolute certainty, in New York, you were not playing the original version of anything 50 Cent rapped on. If 50 did a cover, what was on it, you played the 50 Cent version in New York. That's what everybody
wanted, yeah.
No one fucking, because that's, at that point, no one was doing, like, rappers would give you, like I said, a freestyle. You'd get a verse on a popular beat, but you wouldn't get a hook, a feature from fucking this guy, you know. That's when he started with the G Unit crew and
at that time too, like in New York too, you fucking took that like that's ours. You know what I mean? Like he gave it to us, and everybody fucking holds it down.
Well, it was one of the things. That's why I was saying like there was good and bad. Is like one of the things that I personally fucking hated about 50's come up was that like his approach was to be like, fuck everybody. And like, so there was, you, in my opinion, New York was robbed of like an entire era of classic collabos that could have happened because
of that.
Just wanted to be a fucking asshole.
That's wild. So that all stemmed out of this shit, huh?
Yeah. So, but now when he was putting these mixtapes out at the time, Eminem heard one of the mixtapes. And he was like, I want to sign 50 Cent,
Yeah, like it's already an artist that's well developed.
And M's with Dre. So he goes to Dre and goes,
yeah,
you want to go halves on this venture? Because M's, for all of his quirks, anything I've ever heard about how M deals, as far as like, he's a loyal, straight up dude. So he didn't.
Yeah, I would imagine.
He didn't just do the deal with 50 himself. He fucking brought Dre in on it, right?
Okay.
So now 50 Cent goes from being blackballed to having literally the fucking biggest artist in the world and the most famous fucking producer in history.
Backing him up.
Right? So the story was there. The guy got shot 9 times and survived. You had all these mixtapes that had all the street support, signs with Dre and M. And this is all off of mixtapes.
Yeah.
None of that
what's wild
happens.
too? There was a quote with him saying, he goes, I saturated the street market. And he goes, because mixtapes are the entry level of hip hop. That was like a direct quote from him.
Yeah.
And then again, like I just reading over and over all these different artists that like their power or their notoriety came through the fucking, these means of getting in front of real hip hop fans. And that's what really helped to elevate their career in the early days too, to get, to have that pump behind it. But yeah, man, that shit's crazy. I mean, same thing. LL Cool J had some ill quotes on it. He was saying like, mixtapes are incredible because they're straight from a brother's heart. Music they really feel, not music that just researches well. That's and he goes, that's special. That's my favorite way to listen to mixtapes or to music mixtapes. Like there's just all this love around it that I just didn't realize. Like, oh shit, everybody's anybody that's anybody is very intimate with that area.
Yeah, it's if we pick up from 50 Cent in 2002, 3, and you look from there how mixtapes kind of went, it was definitely more artist centric, and like everyone kind of wanted to just do the 50 Cent mixtape, right?
Okay.
Which, I mean,
the style?
nothing has changed in popular cultures. People see something works and they, I could do that, God forbid they fucking have their own, idea or approach to doing it. It's just fucking, oh no, I'll do that,
Yeah. And then they just keep evolving it,
And so what happened was, like, there was such an appetite for mixtapes. Like in 2003, 2004, any gas station that you walked into, they'd have a fucking CD rack on the counter full of mixtapes. And you would have, your well-knowns, your K-Slays, your Clues, and all these guys, and then, more unknown, like, artists. And then you started getting, like, these blends, which blends are what we were talking about, like, originally is kind of like what started it, right? Mm-hmm. But then you would get, this was kind of like where it started getting real crazy, and in my opinion reached kind of like a pinnacle, is you would get, I'm gonna cite the Nas one. There's a Nas mixtape by DJ Dirty Harry called Living Legends, and this dude went and he got all these Nas acapellas, and he got all these beats that were like of the current era. Okay. Right? And he fucking just made like a Nas tape that was like, it sounded like all new songs.
This was in the 2000s, you're saying?
Yeah, 2006 or 7, 6, I think. And it was like, it was like hearing the music reimagined, because the beat does a lot, and so now you have like the artist being presented slightly different, the DJ kind of like using his taste or musicality to kind of add a different dimension to it, and sometimes these tapes would do so well, or be so well received, that the artist would co-sign them, and do like a couple drops for them and shit. This is Nas, check out blah blah blah, whatever. There was the Jay-Z Beatles mashup album that
I remember hearing about that
Danger Mouse made, and Jay-Z wound up kind of like co-signing that. He thought it was an incredible piece of work or whatever. I mean, so there was this melding around that point where it was more artist centric, but the DJ kind of still played a very starring role in whether it was the curating of how the tape would be, or the exclusives that that if you're this guy, you're gonna get exclusives from everybody. Like K-Slay could get an exclusive from anybody,
Mm-hmm.
But DJ, handing his ass, who's he gonna get one from? So like there was that component to it, right? And now there was such a thirst or appetite for mixtapes in general. CDs by 2009, were going. I don't know what the cutoff really is.
Well, you know what I was reading, that who was it? Hold on. It was
2010.
DJ Drama and Canon were doing a lot with selling these mixtapes and different tapes, like around, I guess, the country and shit, and they got arrested in 2007 on federal racketeering charges for bootlegging, and they took 80,000 CDs and thousands of dollars of like producing equipment, and they said kind of after that part, it kind of got, the physical game kind of got trumped in that, and then that's when the internet started taking over with a lot of the mixtape. I
know that story and I know there's a little more context to it, but they were big in this. Like the South is. I have to watch how I say this because I don't want to sound like like I'm pretending to be an expert about something I'm not.
All right.
Southern hip hop culture is very different than New York hip hop culture. The South has very much always played the role of the underdog, right? Like New York is where it started and dominated for so long, and then it was California, right? And with Dre, and that whole time, the South had brilliant artists, but they just never got national acclaim like that. So their local independent scene and the supported nature of it by their fans was strong as a motherfucker.
Okay.
A DJ could sell 80,000 copies of a fucking mixtape in the South.
Yeah.
Yes, that's like, that sounds so that it almost like attracted the law because it's like, no, you can't.
Well, yeah,
But
because
it's
then
like-
they're making money where the labels are like, you know what? Could we get some
but
lawyer
not
to
only that,
stop
it's
this?
like this must be a front for drugs. Like there's
Yeah.
no way that you
Well, then the
sold
label gets involved. They're
$800,000.
like, you know what I mean? They fund it.
It's like it had been taken to such a level in the South finally that, you know, because at this point Master P and No Limit had already kind of like broke through as independent at a major level, and the South's business game had always been more independent minded than it was up here in New York, because we had the major labels here.
Yeah.
So
Makes sense.
it's weird. Like a lot of New York fans and artists, especially back in the day, used to shit on the South. Like they were like, you know, they can't rap and this and that. And it's like, yo, first of all, you know, everything is subjective. You know, is what's good to you and what's good to me. They can be totally different things. So it's a weird thing to. I always think it's weird when people like aggressively don't like another kind of music, because it's like, then don't listen to it. Like,
Yeah, no,
fuck.
it's like what are you trying to tell me about you? You know?
It's very weird. I'm like, I can't stand mumble rap. It's like, I don't even know what that is to hate it. Like, I don't.
You know why they don't like it? Because they don't get it.
But that's what it is. It's like,
Yeah, and
so
they
then
feel like
just
they're
say you don't
missing
get
out
it.
on
Like,
something.
it's not for me. I don't get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like to hate it, like hate it. You're mad about it. Are you okay?
Yes, I want to be included on everything.
Right. So I always thought it was funny that people in New York would have this like snooty, you know, well, they're not real lyricists like us in New York. And it's like, meanwhile, fucking Master P and all his artists were fucking independent and making, you know, money that it's the biggest New York rappers on major labels. They weren't fucking making the same amount of money. Point blank. Point fucking blank. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could tell you, Jadakiss is Jadakiss was not in the red, in the black until fucking recently, bro. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And this is a legendary artist who had been active for years. Some of these cats in the South that, you know, you and I might not have heard of or whatever, that motherfucker sold 50,000 copies out of his trunk 12 times in a row.
Wow. Imagine.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like
$10, $20 a pop.
You do the math on that. What's 100% of fucking, because, you know, who's he paying?
Yeah, no, of course. Like, he's probably got 10% of cost, but he's making money there.
Whatever his operating costs are.
Yeah.
But it's, and he owns it. Like, you know, it's different.
It's the way, that's what it's all about at this point, right?
So the South's dominance of hip hop, I never saw it as a surprise when it started, because it had already been well known that, like, you know, from the Ghetto Boys and Scarface and, like I said, Master P and all these, is like, these motherfuckers are going, you know, and making millions without record companies. So how you can only hold that underwater so long before it's gonna tip, you know. And like I always say, like when there's that much behind it, you don't just get over for a year. You're over. Like you're fucking over now. You're gonna permanently. That's why the South's
like
influence on hip hop is essentially permanent at this point. I mean, like it might go to different regions and add on from there, but what the South has added to the mainstream rap sound will not be taken away.
Yeah, that's for sure.
We just won't, you know. And so mixtapes, though, and I know I'm going on here, but I'm trying to keep like a little bit of a linear.
Yeah, of course.
Time wise, as far as like, you know, where around that time you were talking about with Drama and Cannon, a lot of that had to do with Wayne, because Wayne was originally a group. He was in the group The Hot Boys, right? And it was like the independent down south, like, you know, I want to say like a more gangster crisscross, but they were kids, is my point.
Bad young, but it was they're all blood affiliated.
But they were like 13, 14-year-old kids, okay?
No, I remember some of those young Wayne videos.
Yeah, so, like, now by 2006, whatever, you know, he's not fucking 14 anymore, you know? And he feels like people, you know, they're not giving me the credit because I'm Lil Wayne, you know? And I always say, like, the best thing an artist can have is a chip on their shoulder. It's the best thing you can have.
Keep going at it.
You really, in my opinion, to really make the impact and break through, you have to feel legitimately insulted that people don't think think you're the best.
Yeah, I like that's the energy you need to be able to.
Yeah, you have to.
Keep
it has
up
to
with
be
what
like
you need to do.
It has to be like what?
Yeah.
And then it's like, you know, okay, I'm gonna fix that. You know, like I'll make it there. You have to fucking recognize, right?
Yeah, and with Lil Wayne, I mean, he basically treated this as like a fucking like a training ground, right? With mixtapes, I mean, like it just seemed like he was coming out with shit just nonstop.
He took what 50 Cent did and did it better, point blank. 50 had these really catchy hooks. That was kind of his strength. Wayne could rap this like stream of consciousness style that was just so fucking densely packed with like double entendres and similes and metaphors and different styles, and he could do it over any kind of beat. Like it was for me it was a revelation. Like I definitely did not think of him as an elite MC in any sense prior to the run that he went on in like it was like 06, 07, 08.
Yeah.
Like where like him and Santana from Dipset put out this fucking mixtape that's one of my favorites of all time called I Can't Feel My Face.
Okay.
And I mean, and it was like the Drought 2, 3. And these are all mixtapes, you know? And again, like that fuels this in an era where physical copies were declining to their lowest point ever because everything was getting, you know, was going digital.
Yeah, that was smart of them to put out as much as they could to flood it, you know?
Wayne was still able to go platinum.
Yeah.
Because he had built such a fucking groundswell of anticipation for an album because he'd done all these mixtapes that even though you could hardly fucking give away a physical copy of a CD at that point. And Wayne still managed to ship like 1 million out of the... I'm pretty sure he sold 1 million first week. Pretty sure.
I think that's what I was reading. It was a ridiculous amount, and it was all credit was due to all the other work.
It was like...
You know, it's like you put the fucking work in, it works, you know? Like it seems to just always be that formula.
Like the next... I think like the next highest like gate that, you know... I mean, it was like... You know, it was more impressive even when you compared it to other releases that year by other artists. Like,
yeah.
you know, because again, if you compare it to maybe 10 years earlier when there was no digital, you know, it's like, yeah, it was a good week, but you know, but it's like, nah, you don't understand, dude. Motherfuckers couldn't give away CDs and fucking at that point. So you know, to sell that amount, it was, and it was solely because of the mixtape run that he had been on.
Yeah. Yeah, like I was even reading, Diddy would even call like mixtapes like, you know, the street radio, you know. It's like there's just so much history around it that went back. I mean, nowadays, because it's online, I don't think it's concentrated like that anymore. But it is now still within the fans, you know? So.
Well, it's interesting because, so, 2010, in my mind, is kind of like when, like, it was majority digital at that point. I don't know that to be a fact, but to me, it's like,
it was already starting in 2000. Remember going to college and fucking.
I'm not saying that it was there, but I'm saying primarily. Like, I definitely was still buying CDs in 2006. I definitely was.
Really? Yeah, I would imagine by 2010 it was probably.
But I know by 2010 it was like, you know, it was becoming like hard to get certain things on CD. Like, I know by 2012 when the Grammy Awards came out, I had to drive like 2 hours to fucking get a copy of it. You know,
oh, wow.
It was like yeah.
Yeah, and then at some point, all of a sudden, it was like, wait, I don't even have anything that plays the CD anymore.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
It's fucking crazy, right?
But so, in by that time, you had a lot of like blogs that were dedicated to breaking new artists, and that in turn kind of like is where like Dat Piff came from, and Mix Unit, and because now at this point with technology being what it was, that like you could just kind of set up Pro Tools in your bedroom, and you know, if your shit is fire, your shit's fire. It is what it is. So, you know, it kind of gave like everyone the at least the idea that they could have access to that possibility, right?
Yeah,
like,
the first step they all have access to.
Now, if I'm being honest, you know, I said in the beginning of this that, you know, I don't like the way that mixtapes have kind of like been like positioned to the public in general as like, oh, check out my mixtape. Like, it's like, you know, but that's where that happened. To be very clear, that is where that happened. When everyone can make a fucking mixtape, there's going to be a lot of shitty fucking.
And it almost
mixtapes.
Started looking like it's a demo. You know what I mean?
Well,
and it's not
a demo. Let me tell you something. What it cost in like the 90s to get a demo done.
Yeah, right. Tens of thousands.
To call those mixtapes demos is a fucking spit in the face to a lot of demos. Okay.
Yeah, of course it is.
Bad mixtapes. Flat out fucking bad. Okay. People who had no business fucking putting anything out ever had 7 mixtapes. You know what I'm saying? And
I'd like to go listen to a few of those for the fuck of it. You know?
There was I had
like a mystery,
I don't have
mystery
it.
Science Theater 3000, but with bad mixtapes.
I don't have it now. If you ever really want to laugh, go look up the videos. Like look up like an episode of BET Uncut.
Okay.
Because BET Uncut was like a video show that would come on at like 3 a.m. And I gotta find out. I need to know the behind the story about this, because from my understanding, the only requirement to get the video on Uncut was you just had to have like naked chicks in it. That's it. As long as you had that, the song could be the worst. Like,
whatever, and they play it.
Bro,
that's probably some of the shit I've seen around on fucking Facebook before that's ridiculous, where there's this guy rapping and some girl dancing in the back that's next to a midget.
That was every single video, and just varying degrees of worse, you know?
Oh, man. I want those as screensavers.
Oh, do you remember Let Me Smell Your Dick? Do you remember that one?
Yeah, like that.
That was my favorite.
Yeah,
that was my favorite. Let me smell your dick. But it was just like, And then the guy like comes in and rapping like, "Yo, just cause I'm in the strip club." Like, it's like so fucking, man. It was a great era, man. But
Oh man.
anyway, the thing is, at that point, even though there was a lot of shit that was coming out and let's say unsolicited mixtapery, I think would
Okay.
probably, if I was going to
Unsolicited
charge someone with it,
mixtapery.
like, so, sir, I mean, look, I'm sure you remember there was a time period that you couldn't walk through fucking Times Square without 47 rappers fucking falling out of fucking trees handing you mixtapes.
Bro, last time I was there, it happened. I was like, a fucking seven
Really?
guys
Still?
came up to me, and like I was almost about to, but then I saw them all looking at my wallet, and I was like, I'm about to get bum rushed for fucking. Everybody was coming over to me to buy a mixtape. I was like, you know what? I'll get it on
I
my
didn't
way
even know
back.
they were still doing that
Yeah,
shit. That's
bro,
crazy.
they were going hard, bro. Like, and
That's
I wasn't
sick.
like I hadn't been in New York for like 2-3 years, and
I would have asked
them.
them. I would have asked them like, "Yo, just show me to the nearest payphone," and I'll
Yeah. Yeah, but bro, I didn't have like my New York on guard back yet because I was there for like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
day, and I was just
Yeah.
like, whoa, I forget how people get in your fucking face like that, you know?
Oh God.
Yeah.
I love it because, like, if you know how to move, you don't deal with that. Like, you
Yeah,
know?
no, but you
And
gotta
then
like
you just-
click back into it though, and I've been
but
clicked
it's
out. yeah.
mad funny. Like you'll like because, and I always think like, I wonder if the person who gets accosted after, like, I walked right by and didn't get accosted at all. I wonder if they go like, why didn't they say anything to him?
Yeah.
And it's like, because you didn't see the front of my face. You're behind me. You didn't see fucking what was going on here and fucking the fucking eye contact that I'm fucking making with every single person in the fucking street.
But most of the time, it's like, nah, that's not happening. They're like, all right, bro, I got you. You know. Like like in the city, it's like a bluff. Like, you know what I mean? But not all the time, man. Obviously,
my
but-
go-to move, and it's been this. I do this now still too in real life, like for fun. I like to look at people like I'm retarded.
Yeah. I've heard you, say
Not
this.
like they're retarded. That would be rude.
It works
But
though.
like
It's very
when someone
effective.
says, "Hey, did you want to hear my mixtape?" I usually go hit them with the.
It's very effective.
And they're like, they're like trying, like there's just nothing there. You just eventually they just walk away.
squirming and they start telling you secrets. I didn't mean it, and fucking
Yeah, well, and they get
start
like they
breaking
get
apart.
weirded out because they don't know. Like, are you one of those fucking weird whites that's gonna fucking do some crazy shit? Like,
No, but like what that
it's-
does is it brings everybody right back into the situation, and they're like, "Oh, wait
Yeah.
a minute," you know what I mean?
It's
Because you're not
unnerving.
fucking.
It's very unnerving. I
it
love
fucking knocks you
anything
off.
that can make people uncomfortable or awkward. I'm all in for that.
Yeah, that shit works.
So-
So that's for sure.
But with where we're talking now, let's say 2010, that path and the rise of all those sites. Yes, there was a lot of bullshit that came out, but at the same time, because it was so easy to record stuff now and technology, and if you're an artist that's in any way financially viable already, you can do shows and make money, you have an album out, whatever, on a major or something like that. The second that you're not happy with how you're being treated at your label, whether it's they're not putting the marketing money behind the song that you want, or you turned in an album and they're not putting it out yet, or they want you to do something different before they'll put it out. The second that happens, artists now could just go, you know what, fuck you, I'll make a whole fucking album and just fucking put it out, and
Yeah.
that's going to eat into your fucking release that like, and I'm gonna give my fans what they actually want, because they're my fucking fans. I'm the one that makes the fucking music.
Yeah.
Not fucking John fucking suit and tie face fucking up the hall. I think we need something that's gonna work a little better on the urban radio. And it's like,
Yeah, we're trying to get more TV placements.
dude, do me a favor, just kill yourself. Like, but somehow that
Oh.
guy has had a job and influence.
I wanted to ask you, so at what point, because I didn't get the whole story, but like Drake had put out some mixtape that ended up getting a Grammy or some shit. You know the background on that, how that all came to light? 'Cause it was around, I think, the later this period of time, because I think because everybody was like all of a sudden able to put out mixtapes. Some people were trying to take advantage of it in a weird way.
I know that
with
happened.
The digital part.
As a rule, I don't really know much about that
That
dude's career.
Yeah, I hear you.
Like he's a talented guy. Obviously, you don't have the career he's had by not being talented.
Yeah, he lost me.
But I know a lot of talented
time.
people that I also would not hesitate to give a fucking wedgie to and stuff in a locker. So, just because someone's talented doesn't, they're not mutually exclusive things.
Well, and then how about Chance the Rapper?
Completely insufferable. As a, I'll say this as an image. I don't know the person, so I can't say. I'm not going to say he's a bad dude. I don't know him, but
what he portrays,
everything that I see and hear and career choices that I've been privy to, he just reminds me of someone who I would just fucking put their head in the toilet in high school. It's just fucking what it is. I can't, I know exactly what you're talking about, money, bro. And now he thinks he's mad cool, and it's
even worse.
Then he uses that money to have real, actual cool people around him. You know what I'm saying? And it's I don't. That's the vibe I've always gotten. And
it's they weren't there before.
I'm not going to do a whole bashing campaign, but it's I know that the mixtape that happened, but that's also, I know Chance the Rapper, I think, had something nominated for a Grammy that was a mixtape also.
Yeah, he did something weird with the project.
The digital
called the
stuff
Coloring
changed
Book.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, the digital stuff changed everything. But so here's what I can best explain it this way. Is a lot of times the artists, the material they would put on a mixtape that would be a street album, not just loose freestyles and verses, an album like the Rare Chandeliers, Bronson shit. Or a lot of times, one of the issues why this wasn't being put out as the album, typically the label was in some form in the way. Okay, so either they were not going to pay the money to clear the samples that were used. Yep. Okay, so, or they said that there's no singles that'll work on here. We're not putting this out. So now the artist puts it out. Okay, and now, the labels they like to play like they know everything, but they also numbers don't lie, and so he streamed how many of that mixtape? What? We need in on that. Yeah. And then it's all of a sudden now they can cough up the money to clear the sample now. Right?
Yeah, right, after they see it's there.
So because now you've already moved X amount, and now it's we're going to do a commemorative edition. We're going to clear the sample. We're going to put it in
that's how probably, I bet you that's how some of that shit even comes to fruition.
That's how that all happens.
Yeah, I got
the artist fucking now has.
You meaning how a mixtape ended up getting recognized for a Grammy or something? That had to happen?
Because what happens is the label that has that artist has at some point in there decided, they're gonna kind of do whatever they need to do to
fucking get ownership,
some sort of credit for this fucking project. And it's one of those ones that you don't cut your nose off to spite your face if you're the artist, right? You let them do it. I mean, fuck it, right? You made your point, and you made the money. So,
and then you can get a Grammy for it.
But I would have to imagine you almost want to hit someone in the head at the label with that fucking Grammy.
Yeah, at the very least.
On the way home, part of your celebration is hold on, we just got to stop at fucking that shithead's house real quick to fucking, congrats on the Grammy. Yeah, fuck, motherfucker.
Yeah. Hold on, I gotta go pick up some KY.
That's making me fucking record it in a goddamn broom closet
because you wouldn't clear it. Yeah.
Oh
my God. I wonder, there's got to be so many fucking stories of bad decisions that were just the worst, you know. But
it's like when you think see, it's tough because you could point to certain examples and go like a lot of, my personal opinion is that some in the last 15 years, like in this digital space that exists, almost any artist that I've become a fan of in that time period, right? I'm not talking about people I already liked. I'm talking about people that I only know from 2010 on, right?
okay.
I don't think one of them has a better album than their best mixtape.
Yeah, so far everything that we talked about kind of falls into that picture, that's for sure.
You know? It's
I mean, it seems to be where the real, like the whole thing that everybody, or at least, you know, I can speak for myself, that I loved about hip hop was that fucking, you know, getting that voice of somebody that's what it is. Like it's the truth coming out, and, you know, that's on a beat that's helping to kind of crystallize the emotion behind it, whatever it might be, but it's realness. And like it had been stripped away, and then the mixtape culture has allowed that, you know, and that forum has allowed that main line, you know, that main artery to stay alive, and you know, the real fans know where to go and still get that. You know, I'd wonder if there's more people that are into because of the internet that are into mixtapes or have awareness of how to find music that way, if it's more now than it was in the 90s or early 2000s. I have to imagine that it's more, but it's not isolated in pockets anymore where it's spread out across individuals all over the place, even probably across the world, you know.
It's definitely different and evolved, but like, you know, I mean, I can't, you know, you look at, like we talked about, it launched 50 Cent's career. We talked about it repositioned Lil Wayne's career.
Yeah,
from,
it gave Fabulous
child rapper to fucking, you know, legit.
It even gave Fabulous like a facelift in the sense of being like, oh, this
Fab
is really
was
fabulous,
able to
right?
kind of, you know, and then, you know, artists who. Like
Bronson got found through that, right? Isn't that kind of how Bronson started getting popular through mixtape?
He did a full proper project first, but
okay.
Max B,
that's for sure.
You know,
what's he got, like 26 albums?
Oh my God, it's insane! It's insane. I mean, he like, I hope more than anything that he is able to be positioned properly
when he comes out
to really establish the kind of legacy that he's deserving of, because that motherfucker is one of the most talented fucking people.
Yeah, man, he's in his own lane too. You know what I mean? His fucking own.
Oh my God,
very interesting.
In his own lane.
Fucking like.
And people think I'm bugging when I say
lane.
this. Like, I'm not. There's not a lot of people who agree with me. I want to be very clear about this.
I mean, bro,
people,
some of the like
people
his
think
hooks
I'm like
where they're all like
for saying this. But he's brilliant.
Yeah, man. The way that like his hooks are like catchy, but they're like on and off melody. It's fucking. It's its own thing, and it's fucking perfect. You know,
and
like for what he's doing, like that's it. Yeah,
and he can rap.
And he can rap, and his content.
People
is
don't realize
he's been through.
People
some shit.
don't realize this. Like, Dipset's run. I'm not talking about Cam. Cam was already Cam, and then he put out Dipset, right?
Okay.
But Dipset's run, you could break it into two time periods: with Max B Dipset, and without Max B Dipset. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the with Max B Dipset had everything on fire. Max B was doing all the hooks, and he didn't miss. It was like we had like an East Coast Nate Dogg all of a sudden. It was like that. It was like you heard that off key. You heard that off key singing.
Mad signature too. It's like,
And
boom,
it was
you know
like,
exactly
yeah,
who
it was
is.
like we finally got a Nate Dogg out here, you know, like that was like the feeling. It was like you would hear Max on the hook and like, oh, here we go, you know.
Yeah.
And then he had the falling out with Jim Jones, you know, and then he got locked up for 75 years. You know, it's been a little bit of a bumpy fucking road for Mr. Bigavelli, but some of his mixtapes like hold up as some of my favorite albums. You know what I'm saying? Like straight up, like Million Dollar Baby 2.5 and Million Dollar Baby 2. Those two mixtapes were like, oh man, I can't tell you how many times I fucking.
I got to go back and listen to those as an album, like front to back, because I've been always listening to like fucking all of them mixed up. Like I hadn't done that yet.
What I
I'll
loved
check that
about
out.
Max's mixtapes were he always had a DJ hosting them, so the DJ really, like, the DJ was a Max fan, right? So
Okay.
they knew how to put a Max B mixtape together. Like the sequencing would always be tight. Like it's one of the things that is very underestimated is the power that a DJ liking an artist's music what that can do for an artist, because a DJ is DJs and producers are very, very similar, okay? At their highest level.
Okay.
Meaning they know how to present things.
Sure.
It's ultimately what the job is
Yeah.
knowing how to present this the coolest way possible, right? And like a DJ who knows why this is good, you know, like why Max B is good, like he's gonna know how to sequence his project, you know,
Phenomenal. Yeah.
because he gets it. So he knows why you don't do those two together. You don't, you know, you do this one with that one. Fucking idiot, you know? And it's like when the artist does their thing and they put out the project, that's their presentation, and hopefully people get it, right? But to have a DJ also get it and then be like, you know what, I'm gonna do this little spin on that project, and it opens the ears of now another 30 fucking thousand people.
Okay.
Because they got that DJ's presentation of it, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Best example of this, Jadakiss.
Okay.
DJ Green Lantern, who's another legendary DJ, legendary string of fucking projects he put out at one point. Jadakiss, his first album, although I personally call it a classic and I love it, it was not loved when it came out by a lot of people. And it was underwhelming is the word I would use, right?
Okay.
A lot of people felt it should have been better. And if you listen to it, I love the album because I had like a lot of fond memories in life around the time of that
Gotcha.
album. It was Albany freshman year, so like me and Ben fucking, you know, smoking angel dust, fucking driving around.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I
fucking,
remember.
you know,
there's
like,
definitely some
so-
shit like when you're listening to music, doing some wild shit when you're younger. That's got a place in your
it's-
heart forever.
Right. So I know,
You
but,
know what I mean?
But if you listen to that Jada album, I mean, it's like the most blatant, like, use of demographics to make an album. Like,
Okay.
you know, it's like, here's your West Coast song, here's your South song. Here, I mean, and it's like, it doesn't. Thankfully, Jada's voice and what he says is cool enough that none of it's like that bad.
Okay.
But it's like, this is not an album. This is a collection of songs. You know, let's be clear here.
Yeah, there's no
This is a
congruency
collection
to
of
it.
songs. An album should fucking feel like it goes together. None of this fucking goes together. So prior to his next album, it was announced that he was teaming up with DJ Green Lantern to do a mixtape, and it was called "The Champ Is Here."
Okay.
Right? So, boom, this tape comes out. Green Lantern's name was real hot because he was Eminem's DJ at the time. So he was doing all the 50 Cent stuff, the Eminem stuff. So, like, having Green Lantern do this pre-album mixtape, like, everyone was checking for this fucking mixtape, right? And to say that it you know, filled what people were hoping for, I mean, is an understatement. It was fucking mind-blowing how good that fucking mixtape is. I mean, like,
wow.
To this day, it's just one of those. It's one of those, like, you're never gonna put an album out this good, dude. I'm sorry. Like, it would be very difficult to put an album out as good as that mixtape.
Well, it's
like,
always happens when you put two, like, you know, you got two different parts that come in with their artistry, and they're both like primo at their top of their level, and they put together something that's bigger than the sums of its parts, you know?
Well, also, Green Lantern understood, I think, better than Jadakiss did, even, what Jadakiss's fans wanted to hear.
Okay.
So, like Jadakiss, even up until, I mean, at least his first 4 albums, he would always have these, like, obvious reaches on his albums, like at least 2 or 3 of them that you're like, dude, you're Jadakiss. Stop
like, what
doing
are you doing?
This. Stop.
Well, like
Just
some like
rap,
love song type of shit.
Rap in a very threatening way for 40 minutes straight. That's all you need to do. That's all. It's that easy. Like, you're that good, dude. Just rap in a way that makes people feel like they might get stabbed. And you're good. And Green Lantern understood that that's what people wanted to fucking hear. So that mixtape is just like a collage of just verbal fucking assault. It's
That's
just
sick.
like,
and that's usually always what's like lacking. Is like they like, for some reason they like venture
everyone
outside
was
of like
so,
who they are, but that's not what anybody wants.
It was crazy too, because so like, you want to talk the writing being on the wall, right? Like, so the mixtape comes out, people loving it. At the time, Interscope, who Jada was signed to, they want to capitalize on this mixtape that they're hearing. Oh, it's, you know, heard your mixtape's doing good, Mr. Jadakiss, you know? we're gonna put that lead single out that you wanted us to do, Time's Up. It was the name of the song. So
Okay.
they put that out, and that wasn't on the mixtape, but it was good. It was intended to be on the album. And it was good. But the problem was, Green Lantern had fucking taken the acapella from that.
Oh, put that on some other shit.
And made that song "Everywhere We Go." I don't know if you remember that shit.
Yeah, no, I do.
That's the same verses from Time's Up.
Oh wow.
Green Lantern just made that beat and just flipped. He just flipped it and made it like, nah, that's not how. This is how it should sound.
Yeah.
And so Interscope, I don't know what, I don't know the exact whatever, but Green Lantern's version wound up on the album.
That's wild, right?
They must have cut him a check. I mean, because that was the
that's the one that one bangs, man.
And and that album, it's so funny because, like, he had that song "Why" was on the album, and so that was like that did good for, like, it helped establish him as like, I don't know, more wide-ranging skill set. Like,
okay.
Like, it helped him in that. The second album was a progression from the first album, but I mean, not even close to being as good as the mixtape. Like, not even. I would.
That's crazy.
The only people who can tell you that second album is really good are people who just didn't hear the mixtape. That's the only way you could. If you heard the mixtape, you can't with a straight face fucking say, no, that album is. It's just as good as the mixtape. It's like, no, it's not. It's not even fucking close. It's not even fucking close. You know? Like.
Yeah. But you know what's great? Like, it's got to be awesome from an artist perspective, though, when you're getting feedback like that. Hopefully you're getting the feedback that you really can clearly see what the fuck people want. You know what I mean? I mean, you should kind of have an idea, though. It's like whatever is genuine is usually the answer to that. But
Well, so then that brings us to the, what I would say would be the natural conclusion of kind of this journey that we've been talking about is kind of, yes, that is what happens. And it's, in my opinion, that last generation we were just talking about, 2012, 13, 14, even 15, I'll go up to there. Artists had evidence now that, no, what I want to do is what will work, not what they want to do. Because I put my mixtapes out and I can fucking tour off them, and everyone in the crowd knows the fucking words to the songs. And I put a fucking major label album out and it's a goddamn weed plate, and no one fucking likes anything and everything sucks that you guys added to it.
Yeah.
So it allowed, in a large way, I believe it contributed to artists having faith in their own vision to go full indie and be like, fuck this, I'll just fucking, I don't give a shit if it takes 6 years and I got to do this, just in obscurity for 6. I know that what I'm doing is, it's authentic enough that it'll connect with the right people.
Yeah.
And it's allowed for some of, in my opinion, right now, I think, and then there's anyone that's tuned in will tell you the same. Some of the best rap music that's ever been released has come out in the last couple of years.
Okay.
And
I know
I'm
a lot of
talking
good shit has.
ever in the history of rap music, in the last few years, some of the best rap music has come out. And I know that that is the opposite of what people will have you believe. Rap is this and that.
But they wouldn't have heard any of what we're talking about. That's for sure.
Yeah, you got to know where to look, and you got to, you have to not, like, I don't want to say, like, it's like there's good rap or there's bad rap, because it's subjective. If you love what's on the radio, fucking listen to it, Yeah. But if you're of the inclination to say they don't make rap the way they used to, this and that, that is objectively wrong. You are incorrect.
Yeah.
They do make it like they used to. I don't know what people are suggesting. It always seems like a weird thing to say, because
well, bro, I'll tell you straight.
What do you
because
mean
I
they
was
don't make it like they used to? What does that even fucking mean?
Because you go back 5-6 years. I was genuinely frustrated that, like, I thought they don't, like, what I liked in hip hop I'll never hear again, other than playing shit I know to be true, right? I didn't realize this whole subgenre, in a sense, or this whole other vein of non-label shit was out there that was all of that, plus all the indie around it on top of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, I can get that, and it's crazy. It's like, if you are able to be at least cognizant of knowing that a big label will probably ruin the creative aspect of any artist with all the business decisions and suits coming in, that if there is music coming out outside of that you better take a little time to research it, find it, because it's going to fucking blow you. It's going to be all that you're hoping for, hopefully, because that element that was removed is only because of the business side of it. You know what I mean? And then the minute you pull that out, and you kind of like mixtapes, kind of like it all lives there to start off with, in a sense, because that was like the channel that was receptive to that music coming out, that was outside of labels. There's a bunch of good shit there. And again, it's like it's so easily accessible, but it's not easily presented, I guess you can say, right? Because, like, shit, I'm online all fucking day for what I do at work, right? And I missed that one. I don't know how I missed that one, but, like, you just take a little time, you start digging in, and boom, there it is, So it is refreshing at the same time to kind of be seeing this, like, renaissance of all of the realness coming back into music,
Well, I want to make 2 points to kind of close things out from my side. And, the last few years in life in general have ruined a lot of conspiracies for me. because everyone's turned everything into a conspiracy now, and it's like, you know, it can't, everything is, that's not, you know, it's like when everything is special, it's like, well, if everything is special, then nothing is special. You know what I'm saying, right?
Yep.
So, like, you're defeating the point of the word. The word special intrinsically means everyone can't be it. Otherwise, it's not special. So, right?
Or one of a kind doesn't mean 1,000.
So a lot of conspiracies have been ruined for me because everyone's just made everything into a fucking conspiracy now, and it's like, Jesus, you know, I don't like any of it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to indulge my inner tinfoil hat man, and say that I do think the fact that you have to seek out mixtapes and it is a purposeful thing. I think that the business interests would prefer if that didn't exist.
Yeah, of course.
I think that, you know, anything to leverage things in favor of the business and not the artist is what ultimately will happen. You know, if the corporate interests have their way, that always is what will happen. And that's why I think my other point is that's why it's bigger than me being petty and going, I don't like the people clown mixtapes. I genuinely believe that we're talking about a medium that is responsible in large part for the creation and spread of this culture and the continuance of it, evolution of it, artists, you know, purity, you know, being a sanctuary for that. You know, stuff that you copyright claim, you know, your creativity is completely unfettered by outside anything. And so to me, the mixtape is the most important thing as far as like mediums of how music comes out. I think mixtape is the most important in hip hop, more than an album by far.
I mean, it's like saying, like, let's say you were to
album.
compare a scientist to a rapper, right? So, like, you like scientists, but like saying you don't like college, you know, it's like that's the breeding ground for all of this greatness. This is where the competition comes from, the creativity, the going on a limb and being yourself type of shit or being unique.
Or it's like calling yourself
all
a
of it.
scientist and someone goes like, you know, like, oh, like, let's talk about the elements. And you're like, oh, well, I'm just into compounds, you know? And it's like,
yeah. I
What?
think the earth is flat.
no, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
No, I know.
no,
Jim, you won't look at the other part
you
of
know,
it. Yeah.
compounds, you know, it's got to be a compound or else I don't give a shit, you know? And it's like, how the fuck did you become a scientist? Like, you know, like, I'm pretty sure you probably need to know the elements, though. No?
Well, and like, let me tell you this too, right? So, like, with the current era, right? Like right now, right? I'm so surprised, and maybe there's more. Maybe it's just what I know, but it seems everybody that I've met that's like aspiring to become, you know, a rapper or get into this culture and doing the music thing, and the fact that they don't have any appreciation for the mixtape component, where it seems that literally everything that's anything within the culture has started there. And like when you're getting into if you're trying to become something and become part of this culture that has been well defined and here probably longer than you're alive, right? Like it's like trying to go become a football player, but saying, oh, I don't need to learn the rules because I'm going to do it different. Like,
well, listen,
not
I
that
don't
there's
want to cut you
necessarily
off,
rules,
but I got to
to
say
certain things, you know?
I got to say a lot can be gleaned by just the phrasing of what you're saying. And, you know, yeah, people who are trying to be in a culture are going to always they're going to always just chase whatever trend, and they're always going to ignore the fundamentals and the things that actually matter, because they're trying to be in a culture, okay? And that's a lot different than being of a culture. That's a lot different than being of that, being from that, being fucking part of that.
But even
right?
if you want to be part of it, and let's say it was all new to you in a sense, the respect of learning it and understanding it, like there's something, you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, but think about it. Do you think that's what people really do, or do you think people want to be famous?
Yeah, people want to.
Right?
People want people to know who they are, and they want to have recognition.
I promise you this: if tomorrow a new superstar came out as a result of mixtapes, everyone would want to do mixtapes again.
Yeah.
It's just,
if it was well known, yeah, of course.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so, like,
but the thing is, like, a lot of superstars did come out of it, but they just don't know. You know what I mean?
No, but that's what I'm saying is that, like, because that's during the time, like, where that was a valuable commodity. Like, those artists weren't doing it.
I hear what you're saying.
Because of some noble cause. Like, they were doing it because that was because 50 Cent fucking, you know, like, so, like, it's always going to be that. But the difference is people who do it, and this is what I always say, like, you know, when we work on music, you and I, and, you know, the mixtape that, I mean, I remember when I came to you with the concept for the mixtape that you and I have been working on, and you were like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot, you know? And I was saying, like, you, like, when you're first starting out, you need to find ways to define your perspective for listeners. And if you're going to be original or unique in your album approach or EPs, meaning the production is maybe a little different than what people are used to, or the way you rhyme is different, whatever, you would be foolish to not consider using mixtapes as like a boarding ramp for listeners, because it's like, here, you're familiar with this beat, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You're familiar with this, okay, and it's kind of like, here's how I do that, though, right? Like, so, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and then you're giving it back to a scene that is where all the fans are. You know what I mean? That'll appreciate it. There's like so many different things.
It also, I know for me as a fan, like when I would hear certain mixtapes, like the beats the artist would pick to rap on would go a very long way in determining what I thought of that artist. Like,
that's for sure.
Anyone can take the top 5 songs that are out right now. That's not a genius idea. It's like, that's like, you know, of course, right? But like, they would be like, Max B, great example. I remember fucking, all of a sudden he had this fucking De La beat that was like from 91, like the, what was it, roller skating jam named Saturday.
Okay.
And like, from 91, and all of a sudden Max B is rapping on it, and I'm like, holy fuck, like, I would never have thought he would have fucking done that, you know? And it was like, I already was a fan, obviously, if I'm listening to the guy's shit, but it was like, man, like, bump this motherfucker up a couple more notches just for that, just for even fucking having the idea to rap on that beat. Like, you know, he's not, you wouldn't associate Max B with De La Soul, is my point. And it was like,
and he made it work.
It gives you an appreciation for maybe the artist's influence, and it's a way for the artist to kind of like pay homage in certain ways too, like where it's like, you know, here's what influenced me. This is the shit. These beats made me want to rap. All right, so like, you know, it kind of lets people go like take a step back and appreciate it maybe with fresh ears, you know? Like,
and look, again, man, when anything has layers, like a good movie that you could watch 15 times, that you realize, oh fuck, I didn't catch that before, or, like, you didn't realize this relation, like, you know, when that's in the music down to the picking of the beats and everything, I mean, like, it just adds all these layers. That's what people get into. It's all that different shit and however it affected you. And again, like that mainstream shit, it's the face value of music. It's like just fucking a one hit, you know, there's no other dimension to it. At least that's the way I take it. You know, the mainstream shit very rarely has multiple dimensions. And then that's where it lacks, I think. That's why people can't, like, you know, that's why you're not playing those songs over and over again year after year, you know?
Yeah, it's I don't know. I was talking to someone the other day about how I think like the music industry reminds me of like the airline industry right now.
Okay.
You know, like COVID really fucked their shit up, you know, the airlines, right? Like for like 2 years, like nobody was fucking flying. And, you know, now when you go to take a flight, it's like, you know, how much do your sneakers weigh? I'm going to need to charge you an extra $12.
Yeah.
Those fucking boots look pretty heavy that you're wearing, you know? Well, what size fucking hat is that? That's going to be $7, you know, for you to fucking have that on board, you know? And it's like, you know, because they lost all this money, they're like inventing fucking ways to get it back, right? You know, like, right? I mean, it's insane. Like,
yeah, you want internet, $20 on the plane.
They lowered the fucking how much your bag can weigh. Like, bro, let's stop pretending that fucking airplanes became less sturdy all of a sudden. Like, stop. Mm-hmm. My 42-pound bag is now the issue, right? Okay, you know. But it reminds me of the music industry in that because of streaming destroying fucking physical sales, okay? And then independent artists figuring out that they can do almost all of this themselves, if not as good, better.
Yeah. And then that's where the quality part stands out because that's the only thing left. You know what I mean?
I actually don't have the disgust that other people, a lot of my peers have about mainstream rap. I'll put it like this. At any given time, I have, if you were to put on, if you made me listen to like an hour of rap on, like radio, right? Like, you know, Hot 97, whatever. Guaranteed within the hour, there'd be one song that I would like 100%, you know? And it would probably be very far from what I normally listen to, but point being, like, I don't fault the artists. I don't fault the radio stations. I don't like the record companies. That's where my problem is, because it's like they're doing everything they can to make up for all these losses. So that's why you're getting you know, 16-year-olds singing about killing each other and then actually killing each other.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, because you're taking advantage of people that don't have the information. You're putting them in positions where people in their neighborhood now think that they're fucking wealthy, but since you're fucking them on this deal, they can't move out of the fucking projects.
Yeah.
Okay, and now everyone thinks that this is a rich guy living in the project. He's a walking fucking target now.
Yeah.
And so you got 16-year-olds getting shot regularly.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, for me, my gripe is way deeper, like, than over, like, I don't like mainstream rap music. It's like, dude, there's always going to be at least one decent song in the hour, right? I mean, like, you know, it's not... It's just the nature of the beast.
It's exactly
catchy,
what
right?
you're saying, though. It's
my beef is with these fucking companies that it's like profit at all costs.
Yeah, and that's what ruins it.
And artists have been winning over the last few years. And look at how much worse not the music, the actual real life repercussions are. You see how fucking what's his face from the Migos just got fucking killed? I mean, like,
yeah,
that's one of the biggest rap groups in the world. The guy just got fucking shot. Like, it's to me, a system that is healthy does not produce many murders.
Yeah, that's for sure. You know what I mean? Because you know what also happens is companies can't go backward, right? So like if you're doing X, hundreds of $millions a year on these, big public companies that are a record label, and you know, all of a sudden streaming comes out. Now they have to move on a dime to figure out how to make up that lost revenue. And in a lot of cases, it's pulling and shoving. You know what I mean? And
I
yeah,
remember
it's
hearing
just it's
Ice-T.
fucking never good.
He said, "My generation, we were in the streets originally, and we saw rap as a way out of that. The problem now is that, like, these kids rap like
Because they're glamorizing
in order
it.
to live that lifestyle.
Which is
like-
wild, right?
It's backwards.
Of course.
Like you got dudes that didn't have a criminal record prior to being famous and now have gun charges and you're a millionaire. It's like,
Yeah.
how does that fucking make any sense? Like, I don't give a fuck if all the guy is a goddamn walking holster. Have someone else carry the fucking gun.
I know. I never get that shit. It's like, fuck, man. It's
Like,
you got so much shit right.
Even
Like,
if
you
you're
are the
gonna still,
moneymaker.
even if I'm still gonna be the one to shoot,
Yeah.
I'm pulling out of his waist. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
bro.
Like,
Especially like when they're the moneymaker too. You know, they're the most valuable asset in the group, and they're the ones fucking doing stupid shit. It's like,
it's
what the
never made any
fuck?
sense to me why you would carry.
It's probably ego.
One of my
It's
favorite
only
Jay-Z
ego.
lyrics ever. He said that shit so. Jay always had. He's one of the
Smooth.
reasons Jay-Z's such a fucking legend is the effortless brilliance of certain shit that he said over the years.
Okay.
Like, just it didn't seem even like anything but like it is, you know, like when you, or either over time or when you just marinate on it like for a second. And I don't want to say the lyric wrong, but he says something about, it's like, you see me, he's like, you see me with a bodyguard, it's because police is watching, and I only use his waist to keep my Glock in.
That's sick.
But when shit goes down, guess who's doing the popping? And it's like, it was such an ill line, because it's like, you know, oh, Jay-Z talks all that shit, but he's got security, and he's answering that criticism.
Yeah.
And in such a way where it's like, I'm not an idiot. I'm not walking around with fucking 12
Yeah, I'm not
felonies on me.
Yeah, and
Like, what do
especially
you
in
think?
New
I'm
York.
a fucking
Yeah.
moron? Like, this guy right here, he has that gun right. I only use his waist to keep my guns in. You know what I'm saying? Fucking, and shit goes down. That shit, I'm the one that's fucking handling it.
Yeah.
I thought that was such a brilliant, you know, like spin on that concept. You know, like, but it's crazy, and I just think when you hear people talk about record labels in a negative way, it's like you could complain because you could say, oh, quality music or whatever, but it's like that's really not an issue, because you could still find good quality music, just not there. It would be like going to Walmart to fucking find, you know,
Anything of quality.
handmade fucking, you know, what do you call it?
Handmade anything.
Right, exactly. You know, it's like,
Handmade
you wouldn't go
anything.
there for that, right? So it's like, I don't begrudge the labels because of the shitty music. I expect it, by and large.
That's a perfect
they're in a
analogy.
position that all they'll be able to put out is mostly shitty music.
It's basically the
My
Walmart of
issue
music.
is that you're like literally so predatory in nature, like that the people that you're purporting to even help are like in a worse position after. It's like, how is that good? Like, I don't see that as good, you know? And it's
Maximum
like, that's my
profitability.
gripe with the fucking industry.
So let me ask you this, the perfect question to kind of bring all of this full circle. So are mixtapes still relevant?
Are mixtapes still relevant? You're asking me, or you asking, are they relevant to...
No, it's a question that's like out there. A lot of people ask, right? And I mean, for me, the short answer is yes, fucking 100%. But I was just curious how you'd answer that.
I think that I think that popular culture right now, a mixtape is like cartoonishly dismissed. I think to the average person, I think it's too much. It got dragged through the mud too much, and paired with lack of respect and appreciation for the history and lineage of what mixtapes mean to the culture. I think that outside of the culture itself, they're not.
Perfect answer. Like
He's always
anything
there to
else.
help. Thank you, Kev. But people who are of the culture, people who are tuned into what's what, they're very much still relevant.
Very much.
You know? And I think where someone stands on mixtapes tells you a lot about what they know of hip-hop.
Yeah.
You know
I
what
was
I'm saying?
blown away with how much more history was around digging into mixtapes than I thought, you know, and I still consider myself to be a pretty big hip hop fan, and I was missing a good chunk, especially over the last couple of years, because like I was always up, like I had a lot of mixtape shit when I was younger, but like again, without the context of the last 10 years, kind of didn't even know what you were holding at the time, you know what I mean, or at least in my age back then, but yeah, man, it seems you know, I love it because it's like these are where our people are, you know what I mean? Like, who love what they're doing, love the music, fucking put everything into it. The people that appreciate that, you know, that's what lives here in this realm, and it's very exciting and refreshing to see how much is there and how much people are continuing to contribute to it, and everything along those lines.
Yeah, I also think, just on a personal, like as a fan, I think anytime something becomes obsolete or less relevant or, you know, out of style, however you want to frame it, I think anytime that happens, it's also, that means it's ripe for someone to kind of like reinvent the wheel with it a little bit and kind of like, you know, like adjust the perspective for everyone. You know what I mean? Like, there's this legendary story about Jay-Z warning his label at the time, his artists, Memphis Bleak, Beanie Siegel, etc., about 50 Cent, because the mixtapes, and he knew that Dre had just signed them, and he said to all the artists in there, he was like, you better put a lot of music out fucking now, because this dude 50 he's got this momentum that ain't nobody else gonna get have a record on Hot 97 for about 3 years. And he the phrase he used was he's about to DMX the game, because DMX had done something very similar in 98, where like you had Biggie died in 97, and Puffy was making the shiniest pop rap music. I mean, it was just god awful.
I remember.
I do not have like rose tinted glasses about that part of the past. Like, that's some of the worst fucking trash that has ever fucking come out. Is that fucking that I don't know.
That Diddy shit.
I mean, they were like not even, it wasn't even like creative looping or sampling going on. Like, he was just taking whole 80s fucking cheesy songs, like, and just being like, watch me fucking in a fisheye camera lens now. You know, dance to
with a
this.
bunch of
It's like,
fucking.
this is awful, dude.
Yeah.
You know, but anyway.
I remember that period.
That was the dominant sound. And DMX, like, was the complete opposite of that. Like, everyone was trying to do their version of the Puffy stuff, and DMX just came in and acted like an actual dog.
Yeah, I know. It shook everybody back up.
And everyone was like, holy fuck, like that sounds dangerous. And that's what, like, everyone kind of collectively went, oh yeah, rap is supposed to be dangerous. I forgot.
Yeah, that's what we like about it, right?
That's kind of like the thing that it has over other genres, is that you can get this fucking, you know, and DMX put out 2 platinum albums in 1 year on Def Jam Records.
Wow.
It's the only guy I'd ever do that. It's insane.
Those albums both came out in the same year, huh?
Same year.
Oh, I didn't know that.
6 months apart. Because the first one had sold so many fucking copies.
Yeah,
the
like,
label said, we'll give you 15 million or whatever. 1.5, I forget what the number was. But we'll give you just cash if you can deliver another album by the holidays. Because we know it'll. And he did, you know?
Amazing.
And that album's just as good. I mean, it wasn't like a shit album by any stretch.
No, I remember both of those. I had those blasting.
And so there was that, you know, Jay was telling everyone, you know, I'm telling you, he's going to come in and DMX this fucking shit. So, and sure enough, he did.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, people thought that it was done to death at that point. And then in 2008, Wayne, you know, and then we talk, you know, like we've spoken about how it's evolved into like full kind of albums that come out, and you know, it's always going to move, it's always going to change, but the concept of the artist having another way to get their message out without having to like play by a certain set of rules that someone else told them, it's the most important thing that could possibly exist in the genre.
Yeah, it's the best scenario, the most cultivating of music. You know what I mean? It's like, it's,
you know what I'm saying?
There's
like,
no influence other than the artist. You know, like that's what it's supposed to be. You know,
right? Yeah. And
it's a beautiful thing. It is,
and it allows for people to, with let's say you don't have your go-to producer to work with, but you know you want these kind of beats, right? So then you can go and you know make that fucking mixtape, and hopefully oh shit, you know, maybe that producer this guy rapped on, you know, he sounds good on my shit actually, you know, like so it's what people make of it, right? Like,
yeah.
I think I want to go circle back to, is the mixtape relevant? I would say the longer it could stay not relevant to mainstream culture, the better we are.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
You know? Once it becomes relevant, that's when they start trying to fucking tell you how to do it.
No, that's when they start trying to monetize more.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
you know, then
and
it
that's
turns
the end
into
of it.
like,
yeah.
Then it's like, oh, no, we love mixtapes. We love your mixtape. We're just going to have you do it this way, though.
Yeah, we're going to start a new
what?
streaming mixtape service.
The whole fucking point was that you not being in the room. We'll let you the fuck in here. Get out. You know?
They show up in one of those little like trailers that you see outside of like building projects, like they move in already.
I would imagine it's like a married guy who gets like a man cave and like downstairs, and like his wife comes down. It's like, the fuck? Like, I built this literally so you wouldn't be here. Why are you here? You have the whole house.
Yeah.
You know? I feel like that would be, you know, the equivalent.
Yeah, and then it would probably just be some other spin-off that would end up in that area again where they're in a different room, you know, because that's just
all of a sudden there's a fucking Sex in the City poster, you know? You're like, what? Well, it's still a man cave. It's just, you know, we wanted to appeal to more people. It's like,
we have ladies' night here on Tuesday.
But it says man cave right in the fucking name.
We have 2 days, Tuesday night, ladies' night.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Tuesday is ladies' night.
All the girls
Tuesday
come over.
Tuesday is ladies' night where? At the man cave? Are you fucking... You know what I'm saying?
Like it's Chardonnay and fucking and cheese.
It's baked into the fucking title. Can you fucking... You know? So, yes, that's why I feel that the longer it's not relevant, the better. Because I have a feeling relevance comes with a fucking ladies' night on Tuesday. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I want to put a bow on this. You know, before this is. I know we spoke about like whatever fucking links. You know, for you know, my social media handles and shit. I'm gonna try to get some sort of thing, like a recommended for a couple links for some places to check out some mixtapes that I think are
swell,
important.
Yeah.
Let's say, you know, and it's by no means a fucking definitive guide to shit. It's just a starting point that, like, you know, from my perspective is like, you can't go wrong with at least starting here. And it's if you're not someone that's been tapped into that, you know, whatever your favorite show, like binge watching, like you got that times 100 right in front of you.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
You got 40, 50 years of fucking just pure creativity. You know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so fucking we'll put together some, we'll grab some links, throw them down below. But yeah, you know, hopefully this shit opens it up to a lot of people because, I mean, like I said, I can only speak for myself, but there was a whole world I didn't realize that was like right there, that I had like parts of it, but I just didn't have the whole big picture. And, you know, at this day and age, like if you like music, you have to look in that direction. You know, it doesn't, to me, it's like, I don't think I've listened to anything. And like, I know mainstream shit, some of it's good, some of it's whatever. But what I like about music is the emotional aspect that gets pulled into it. And most of the time that's not there anymore. And it's like, it resides in these off-skirt areas and it's still there and it's thriving, you know?
Oh yeah, it's definitely true. It's like I said, I do believe that we're closer to a golden age than we are to like the dark ages as far as the creativity in rap music.
Yeah,
I don't think we're at the pinnacle of where it can go, but there's a lot of stuff that I've seen and heard in the last few years that's like really exciting. And I'm talking about stuff overseas.
Yeah.
I'm talking about New York being a place that has a sound again. I'm talking about like the way that the South has at this point has produced so many good, like great lyricists that you can't write the South off as like anything other than you know, as important as any other region. Like I personally am a huge fan of that because credibility is a motherfucker, you know? And the South was selling all the records for a minute, but there was still this lingering narrative that, you know, but they can't really rap like that.
Yeah.
And it's like I can tell you definitively that some of the absolute greatest rappers ever are from the South. Fucking end of story. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like Andre 3000 is one of the greatest ever. Mm-hmm. Fucking Ludacris is an all-time great. Okay? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Wayne,
Scarface. I mean, like fucking Wayne, T.I. Like, I mean, and these are not people that just make good hooks. These are dudes who got catalogs of
everything,
brilliant fucking work. And so, you know, like when you look at all of these factors, and you look at the fact that artists can go direct to the fans now, right? And have ownership of their shit. It's like that to me signals you're just gonna get more creativity at that in the future. So that's why to me it's a very exciting time, because it's like it doesn't feel like everything is owned by the labels anymore. You know, in the year 2000, bro, if you didn't have a song on the radio, you were not a viable artist.
Yeah. Now it doesn't.
I mean,
even
right
really,
or wrong, right?
Now it doesn't even make a difference. I mean, in my
now
opinion
it's like,
anymore.
bro, like I would prefer to never be on the radio and fucking have my fucking shows overseas fucking sell out, you know, and come back here and, you know, go to the bagel store and no one even fucking knows that I'm at, you know.
I know that's the like the current, you know, being successful in music. My picture of it is not
Hell yeah, dude.
like as being popular enough or like enough of a support that you
like
can
Push-
do that, and that's it, man.
Like
You're
Pusha
good.
T said, he's like, rappers rather be more famous than rich. And it's
Yeah.
like, you got it fucked up, bro. That ain't the way, that's not the way to do it, you know? Like,
I know,
I
definitely.
don't, famous is not, that's a hindrance. That's a hindrance in my opinion, you know? Again, maybe some people are more personable and they maybe want to have people talking to them all the time and running up to
Nah,
them.
when you're young, man,
That's
you want
not me.
recognition, and like I don't think that's really, you don't really understand it enough. You know what I mean?
feel
'Cause,
like-
it seems
I
like,
feel
it's
like-
the logical answer. You'd want more. You want more freedom of everything, and that's not that. You know, the fame does not give you freedom. It takes.
I
away.
would have the see, and this is because I'm just fucked up wired that way. Like, I wouldn't. Once I was aware that it was popular to like me as an artist, I would not trust any fucking compliments or any positive feedback ever after that.
Yeah, that's
I just
true.
wouldn't be able to.
Yeah.
It would be because I think everyone's fucking lying to me. You know, because like you're saying that because it's cool to do that, right? Like, that's, you know me enough to know, like, when we work on music, there's like a 2 to 4 person window of people that I ask their opinion. You're one of them. And I said 2 to 4 person window, meaning like there's not even always 2 other people. A lot of times it's just me and you that we're deciding if we like it or not.
Yeah, I feel that.
I don't give a quarter of a fuck about, you know, becoming famous. That to me, first of all, would be very easy to do, but also does not in any way come with a financial equivalency with it. You could be very famous and also very broke
Yeah,
at the same
man.
time. You know what I'm saying? And that's not very convenient or good. Like, people bothering you all day and like probably like fucking your shit up, and it's like, I'm
Bro,
broke,
it's got to
dude,
be the
but-
worst where you can't do anything without being recognized. It seems like fucking prison to me. So, but like money's
it would
nice.
be like that even
but-
if I was wealthy. But I'm saying, imagine like you know, like one of these internet fucking celebrities, you know, where it's like, you know, what did you get paid in fucking likes or something, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and then but meanwhile people are like bothering you in public and shit, you know, and it's like, dude, all I have is fucking likes, okay? Like, I'm not even rich to be like, have you bothering me like this, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
can
that's
imagine.
that's got to be a special kind of fucking hell.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Fuck that shit.
And then you just think about the guy who's like the opposite, who's like probably, you know, has written like and contributed writing to like hundreds of legendary artist songs, but nobody fucking even would. You could never pick this guy out of a crowd.
Yeah, and he's probably everybody's jealous of him. I bet you that's
Multi-fucking
famous.
millionaire, has everyone in his fucking phone that, yeah, you know, that is anybody, you know.
Yeah.
But no one ever bothers that motherfucker. You go to the store and fucking
Not
to
at
the
all.
fucking restaurant by himself, sits there 6 hours, no one says hi to him. It's
Yeah.
like, that's the guy that has the right answer right there. That
Yeah,
guy.
I'll tell you that. You know, I met like Leslie Brathwaite was that. Like he extremely popular engineer I met a couple of months ago, and like had just the picture perfect life of somebody that's making music, and like just on the fringe of the popularity side of it, where only other audio geeks know him, and he's got a popularity amongst like people that respect what he does too. So
Yeah.
like his fans are all like really they respect him, and they're like colleagues. And then there's none of that noise, you know, and he kind of just quietly scoots in the middle of it all, and that
Yeah.
seems to be like an ill
Right.
place to reside, you know.
I think that, like, and I, you know, I guess this will kind of be my closing sentiment is that I think the other thing that is important about the mixtape is it should serve as a standard that you're always striving to push your like full albums to creatively. Like you should have an awareness of what true creative freedom is, and when you do have to work within a system, like you're pushing for it to be as close to that fucking, you know, that like that's what you're fighting for, right? You know,
Yeah.
Like I think that's the other thing that legacy wise is very important about the mixtape, is that it's kind of like this idealized version of what putting music out can be, you know. And so yeah, that's you know, that's pretty much, I mean, there's so much more. This is a topic we could talk fucking 6 hours about easy, but it's been 2, and I think that's a pretty good fucking place to start, you know.
Yeah,
It's
man.
been
I
a
mean, I
pleasure
think we
talking
covered a
about
lot
this
of the
stuff.
most important aspects too. You know what I mean? And we gave it the homage it deserves for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know, you know, how it'll all work out, but you know, anyone hears this and has you know, stuff they'd like to add to the dialogue, or suggestions, recommendations, or stuff like that, you know, there definitely is room for that. You know, like I said, this is not in any way meant to be a definitive history of the mixtape. You know, we're 2 fucking dudes who grew up listening to fucking all this stuff and love it. And you know, I happen to have been in real time there for a lot of it, and so I have memories of a lot of these things that to me are like just as the context of a lot of this stuff is just as valuable as a fact being correct. So that's why I don't really go too crazy with like details of like exact dates, because it's like, does it matter if it was July or fucking October, bro? I mean, if it does matter to whoever out there, fucking correct me. Enjoy yourself like this right here. Enjoy it. But you know, for me, it's more about getting the context across, and that's why I love having these talks with you, because
Hell yeah.
we really kind of were able to like go through, you know, a little bit of a timeline and kind of like put things in a perspective where, you know, you could always dig deeper into any one of those parts, but at least we're putting a context together.
Hell yeah.
So I think, you know, we did a pretty good job here today, and if you agree, I hope you continue to check out the show. If you disagree, I hope that you never listen again, to be honest. I have no interest in hearing like negative feedback like more than once, because it's like, if you don't like it, then don't fucking listen. The fuck? You know? You get like, I don't mind being corrected about a thing, but it's like, I'm not here for all the fucking back and forth. You know? I'm busy making things.
Yeah, for real.
Fuck.
All right, bet, man. All right, so we'll fucking wrap it on up. Another one. As always, we'll have shit
man.
down below, a couple links and stuff, shit we talked about. But other than that, Prezzy, I'll see you next week. And until then, you heard.
Yo, the chaps with all the straps signing out, bro.
It's like anything else.
Peace, brother.
All right, you got it, bro.